Hello and welcome to the Bright Teach podcast, where we give you the tools you need to maximize your education. At Bright Teach, we believe so strongly in team. So we've produced this podcast to help every student in their team, which is the first team that they have, is their family, maximize on their education. And today we have a good friend of mine, Tom, where we're going to be talking about studying and study tips and how to really make the most of your revision. Tom, it is so good to have you here. Thanks so much for coming in.
I'm happy to be on. Really looking forward to sharing the tips that work for me. And I hope it's of use to some of your students.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm sure they are definitely going to be some use to them because you know what you're talking about. I'm not going to lie to you. Tom, for those of you who don't know, me and Tom went to university together, and he personally actually supported me a lot in my education, how to approach my studies. So I'm really excited to be having you here. Tom, why don't you give a little bit of background about yourself, education-wise, GCSEs, A-levels, stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So going back to GCSEs, I can't remember the options necessarily. It was probably history, business, something like that. But by and large, my academic background is sciencey. So I did biology, chemistry, maths at A-level and biochemistry at uni with a master's in cancer cell biology. So yeah, very scientific is the angle that I'll be coming from today.
Yes, definitely. Same. I am a science teacher, and most of the students who are watching this are definitely on that science edge anyway. Now, I'm going to hit you with one of the fun facts, Tom, and you've got to try and work out whether this fact is true or false. Yeah. One thing I know about you is you did so well at maintaining a good timetable and having a decent plan. Yeah. Now, apparently, there's a fact. Yeah.
Okay.
Either you think it is or not, that 90% of students do not stick to their timetable once they've written it. So within 2 weeks, they scrap it. What would you say?
Yeah, I'll go for true on that. I think timetables need to be fluid, and it's not always a bad thing scrapping it, as long as you're scrapping it in place of something better.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that they develop it. Literally, they get rid of it. So they do it for 2 weeks and they think there's no point, so I'm not going to have a timetable. Nine out of 10 people do that.
And that is true.
Well, you tell me. What do you think?
That's quite pessimistic, that. I'll be optimistic. I'll say false. That is too high. That is too high.
What percentage would you have gone for?
I'll go 50%.
Well, I like the fact that you think quite optimistically about our students. Unfortunately, it is 90% of students scrap their timetable, which is actually mental, isn't it? Because timetables are so important. Actually having a planner is really, really good. And I mean, I'd love to hear from you. Like, how is it that you did well in your GCSE A-levels and your undergrad?
Sure. So I'd say one of the key things to note is that motivation is always going to be temporary. Okay, so you cannot rely on being motivated to study all the time. But what is absolutely essential is to maintain discipline, which is where I think my strengths lied. So I think it's fair to say that in classes, in lectures, I wasn't the brightest by any means. Things didn't come naturally to me. But I would say one of my personal strengths is I was more disciplined than most, meaning that I did have a schedule that I like to stick to 7 days a week at its peak. You know, I'll talk about how I sort of ramped up my schedule as exam season approached, but it was the discipline, the sort of, the metaphor I use is you brush your teeth twice a day. I don't think anyone wants to brush their teeth twice a day, but I like to think that the vast majority of people do brush their teeth twice a day, and it's just discipline that's built into you. Now, something like that obviously is relatively easy to keep up with. It's 2, 3, 4 minutes twice a day. But if you employ that same sort of thought process to your studies, it's going to stand you in good stead, because if you look at studies like, right, I am doing it today, I have to do it today, there's no other option, then you're a lot less likely to flake out. If you're relying on motivation exclusively, you're bound to fail, and that's probably a lot of the reason why the number for that fact was so high. Is that people are relying too heavily on motivation and
Yes.
not discipline.
I so agree. I think there's like a thing within many people. So it's not just students. I think just adults as well, where if you will only continue with something if you're motivated to do it. For example, going to the gym, right? People give up going to the gym because they're like, I just can't be bothered to go
Yeah.
to the gym anymore.
And if you looked at people with the best bodies in that gym, I guarantee you, not every single day they're like, oh, I'm buzzing to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
I bet they have so many days where they just can't be
Yes.
bothered, but they look at the bigger picture and they know that with my discipline, I am going. So it's not even a conversation. I'm going,
Yes.
and that's the end of it.
Yes, exactly. Now, I love the fact that you said that, you wouldn't have seen yourself as the smartest person.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and I think a lot of students tend to think IQ plays a massive factor on the grades that you end up getting. See, my personal experience has been that IQ might play a little bit, like it's just the length of time it takes for somebody to understand it. But it has nothing to do with the final grade. I mean, what do you think?
So I think I've got to split this up. So I think for rote learning subjects that rely on learning facts and regurgitating them, I think IQ plays very little. And I think hard work can overcome that. I will caveat it with things like physics, mathematics, engineering, that kind of thing. I do think there has to be a certain degree of aptitude for those, because for those, it's not about rote learning. It's a lot about understanding. And same for sort of humanities. Like you need that natural writing flair if you're going to succeed at English at degree level. It's not to say that my techniques I'm going to describe today won't work. GCSE, maybe A level, but degree level, I think there are subjects where hard work.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Rote learning, hard work, absolutely, and natural ability isn't super important, dare I say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maths, physics, you do need that level of understanding. And I think I'd have really, really struggled with those subjects at university.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, with that being said, you said that you wouldn't say that you're one of the smartest people in the class. But what grades did you actually get for GCSE and A levels?
So I know it's different scale now, but GCSE I got 5 A stars, 6 A's. A level got A star, 2 A's, and degree top of the year. Well, Arnold.
Top of the year. Tom got the top. I love it.
It's about the only thing I can brag about in my life, because there's almost everything else I'm not very good at. But I don't know. I found that exams just. I had this method that I sort of honed over the years that I'd like to share today, and it worked for me.
So say that again. Sorry, for GCSEs, what did you say you got? And I'll convert it for people listening.
Sure, 5 A stars, 6 A's.
Yeah. So if you are watching, 5 A stars, 6 A's is pretty much 5 9s, 8s, and 6 7 8s. 7s or 8s, somewhere there. So that's what Tom had gotten. And obviously, there was a time, Tom, where you and me and a few other people would work together. And I think, there is benefit to working on your own, 100%. But there's also benefits to coming together every now and then to I don't know, cement maybe the things that you've learned or something like that. What would you say as to working with other people?
So I would say for my discipline, I felt relying on other people was an unreliable approach. I would say that, I think you can vouch for me here, I would always put in a set amount of hours private study every day, because I knew that nothing could get in the way of that. However, that being said, group study when the time is right, and as long as you have a disciplined bunch, can be really effective, because other people will come at things from different angles. They'll point out gaps in your knowledge that if you are doing the same thing every single day, you often will just miss the same thing every day because it doesn't even occur to you. Whereas other people will point out your shortcomings and will help you thrive for sure.
Yeah. I think I found for myself that when I lacked motivation, knowing that there were people who were waiting for me to come in, made me be like, I've got to get up anyway. I need to go. I think even with my A levels, I was able to, me and a few friends, we just decided every single day after school, we're just going to go to the library 5 till 8, and we're just going to revise together. And it helped. It helped the fact that a lot of the time I was just doing my own revision and they were doing their own revision. But I found that when we were together, kind of doing things on our own, it really helped me maintain that sense of, actually, I'm going to keep going.
I think that perfectly demonstrates that balance between discipline and motivation, because you had the discipline if you're going at 5 till 8 every day, but you also had the added layer of motivation because you don't want to let down your friends.
Yes.
And they probably motivated you to come.
Yes, exactly. All right, so now let's assume that you've taken a mock test, all right, back in your GCSEs, and you worked hard and you got a C, or I guess for those of you who are listening, you got something like a 5. And you know for yourself that you are capable of maybe getting higher than that. How would you handle that situation?
So you've got to keep everything in perspective. I think every subject that I've ever taken is split apart into multiple exams and pieces of coursework that contribute to the overall picture. So you can't afford to get too down about one piece, because you know you can definitely make up for that in other areas. Obviously, if you can get your hands on the paper, that's fantastic, so you can see in black and white where you missed out on. But it's important to keep perspective of the bigger picture and realise that that's just one example. And although I got those grades, I definitely scored less than an A or equivalent in various pieces of individual work throughout my time.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
just keep perspective of the bigger picture, really.
I think that's such a good point.
And don't think that because you got a C this time, you're going to get a C next time. Which, by the way, let's not denigrate a C. Like, a C's great in certain aspects. But yeah, it doesn't mean that if you felt like you were capable more, that you aren't going to get more next time.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I found it for myself. It's this idea of just get back up. It's okay if you didn't get the grade that you were hoping for, especially if it's a mock test. That's all right. Get back up, try again. Don't settle with the idea that I guess I am just this type of student then. I guess I am just a C grade student. If you feel as though you are, or a 5 grade student, if you feel like you are a 9 grade student, or I'm a 3 grade student, if you truly have, you've been saying of yourself that you're a 5 grade student, don't just limit yourself to the most recent exam.
Absolutely. And mock tests are so crucial to my methods, which again we'll get onto later, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, let's get onto that now, Tom.
Sure.
What was your method of study?
So I've sort of crystallized it down to a few takeaway points. So I'm going to elaborate first, and then I will conclude with a few takeaway points that I think anyone can utilize.
Nice.
So I called it my personal sort of rule of 5, right? So I set myself a task that before any given exam, I would like to have gone through every piece of course material relevant for that exam 5 times. Okay. There are situations where you may not be able to get to that 5, but I found that if I went through things 5 times, I was walking into that exam confident. I knew the language that the exam board wanted me to use. Right, I knew many questions that were almost certain to come up, and it is a lot of rote learning, right? So rote learning is just essentially learning things to get embedded in your brain. I think I googled an exact definition, but it's not necessarily a greater understanding of the bigger picture. So coming at this from like more of an academic point of view, I'm sure there'll be many academics not liking me say this, but I am coming to you today to help you pass an exam, right? Yeah. When you get a bit older, if you're a GCSE student learning this and you learn to take your driving test, I think any of your parents, guardians, whatever, will agree that to pass a driving test, you will need to remember so much stuff that you'll just never need outside of passing that exam. It is exactly the same principles for passing school exams. There will be many little pieces of language that they want you to use, many little facts that overall aren't that important to remember, but to pass the exam are absolutely crucial. So rule of 5, go through things 5 times. What the hell does that mean? Okay, when I say go through things 5 times, I mean use this most condensed revision guide that the exam board gives you. Don't bother learning anything more than you have to. So in my time, I remember I had like these AQA books that were just the bare minimum facts and explanations. And again, I'm talking quite sciencey here. And if I found that I went through that 5 times, each time writing less. So when I say go through, my technique was sort of read a passage, write what you remember, read it again, maybe fill in the bits you missed, and it's just embedding it slowly and slowly. But then when I go through it the next time, I would endeavour to write less. Don't dwell on the things that you know, and this is more important in sort of the 3rd, 4th, 5th time of going through things. Don't focus on the things you know, just focus on the things you don't know. That way, your revision technique is going to be a lot more streamlined and a lot more efficient. You've got a lot better chance of going through material for all of your different subjects up to that 5 times. Again, don't beat yourself up if you sort of only get through some bits 3 times, some bits 5 times, whatever, that's fine. But just, I'd strive for the 5, definitely. And throwing into the mix past exam papers. So I would say go through the material once, do a past paper, read the marking scheme, because that comes into the language that I was talking about. There's very specific terms that they're going to want you to use. So do that, go through a past paper, do it again, past paper. Now this, by the way, is probably over the course of 2 months. So going through it the first time will probably take, of every subject, take 2-3 weeks, because you're going through absolutely every aspect. The next time might be 2 weeks, the next time 1 week, and then before you know it, in the last sort of week running up to your exam, you could probably get through that material once or twice, because when you're being honest with yourself, skipping the things that you do know, you can just really zip straight forward to the things that you don't know.
Yeah. So just on that, you were saying it took, the first time you did it, it took about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What was your timetable? What did that look like? Like, how many hours were you working in order for you to be able to cover an entire syllabus in 2-3 weeks?
Sure. So you've got to be disciplined with, you've got to be honest with yourself and figure out what works best for your schedule. And because there's no point in just like flogging a dead horse. If you're absolutely exhausted, you're not going to retain facts as well. So I found that the second, and this is not going to work for everyone, but the second I woke up, I would get a solid anywhere from 1 to 2.5 hours under my belt, say, before I got hungry and needed breakfast or whatever. And I honestly mean get up, maybe brush your teeth, go to the toilet, but I mean get on that laptop, get on the books, and just do it, because I knew that in that time there's no chance of me being disturbed. There's no plans that are going to happen. There's no classes. You just do it, right? So I was like, right, no matter what happens today, no matter what disaster or emergency happens, I've at least got that. Now, I would say that level of discipline saw me through till lunch, generally speaking. So get up, study, breakfast, study through to lunch, and then you've got a solid probably anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, and it doesn't, I like to think, feel too much stress at that point. That, after then, I would sort of play it by ear. Every day is different. I would call it a day early some days if I felt like my brain just wasn't absorbing it, because it's just going to do you harm, really. Like, it's not going to do your motivation any favours if you're finding it an absolute slog. You're certainly not going to be remembering things too well if you're just tired and just the pages are becoming blurry. But also on the flip side, if you're feeling on fire, if you're firing on all cylinders, if your brain's there, I would just put in the hours while you've got that good bandwidth in your brain going on. So I would generally say independent work for the morning for me. And again, this is all for me. And then more group work in the afternoon, because I knew that if I saved my independent work to the afternoon, with the best will in the world, things can happen, plans change, and you might lose it. So I would just always want to bank it when I knew nothing could get in my way.
Yeah, I definitely concur. I mean, for me, it was that whole thing about waking up straight away was massive for me. So for those of you who are watching or listening or whatever, if you can just like first thing as part of your routine, just be like, I wake up, I do a bit of study, and then I reward myself with breakfast and maybe like a 20-minute TV show or something like that. That it makes, for some reason, I know that when I got into the habit of study and then reward with breakfast and a TV show, it made the routine of study a lot more fun. It's like, yes, work and then my breakfast and food, my food and like fun time, and then going on to lunch. It was very similar for me as well. So I know that this kind of stuff works. One thing that we're trying to teach everybody, which clearly, Tom, you have said, is hard work breeds results. It's all about the hard work, and I think many students might just, I think maybe that's why they jump into IQ a lot quicker. It's like, I'm just not smart enough. But a lot of the time it's not necessarily to do with the depth of ability to comprehend that you have, though I agree with you, like obviously with some elements it does. But with many elements it's like, just work hard, and you can actually achieve the thing that you're looking for.
Absolutely, and it's working hard in the right areas as well. Like I say, get those most condensed revision guides. Don't get the big textbook because you think it looks better. Honestly, the exam boards only care about a very small portion of the syllabus. But that small portion they really care about. So you just can't mess up with that small portion. It's really annoying. And unfortunately, these methods, they don't necessarily set you up to be the most incredible academic in the future. I'm talking qualified academic, right? But I'm here today to tell you how to pass exams, and I like to think that, like I said, I'm not amazing at many things in my life, but passing exams was always something that I prided myself on, and I think I can be of help today.
Yes, yeah. What we've been teaching our students is, and a lot of parents are going to tell me, right, don't ever listen to this man ever again. A-levels are definitely important. They're going to help you to pick the right university, and your degree, especially if you're going to be applying some sort of further knowledge into your career, is really, really important for you to do as best as possible. Your GCSEs are not a major amount of importance, but they do tell you this. Firstly, they do open up your opportunities a little bit, all right? So your job may look at your CV and see good GCSEs, and the school that the sixth form or college that you go to may want to look at your GCSEs. But your GCSEs do this. They teach you the value of hard work. So they set you up for the future. You don't have that many responsibilities right now as a student. So it's good to learn the value of hard work, so that when your responsibilities do come, you're actually able to put your all into that, and you can believe that you can actually achieve the thing that you're looking for. And you might not even see this, Tom, but I bet you any money that you work hard in your job right now because you learned that hard work actually pays off when you were doing your GCSEs. You may not necessarily be thinking about that all the time. Wow, because of my GCSEs, I'm here right now. But I know that that's the case for me when I learned that when I work hard, I get the thing that I'm looking for. For the most part, I understand that there are exceptions to rules, and some people work really hard and it's just an off day and so on. But generally speaking, when I work hard for the things that I'm looking for, I do get there or get close to that place. Yeah,
absolutely. I think sometimes the syllabus, kids are like, oh, why do I learn maths? Why do I learn science? I don't want to be a scientist, but it's about the life lessons. Science, if you take nothing else away from it, it just sets you up. It gives you an outlook on life, which is, I want to be, I'll only believe in sort of proven facts, right? And I'm open-minded to change. When new scientific information is introduced to the scientific community, scientists change their mind. It happens all the time. Our university lecturer said this all the time, saying like, right, this course may not actually be valid next year. It might not be relevant this year. So, as a kid, don't think you need to remember like the periodic table off by heart. But if you just take that scientific outlook on life, that's going to help you be a better human being. Same with maths and problem solving. Same with many other subjects, is that there is like a bigger picture at hand. It's not always obvious when you're a kid, and unfortunately the syllabus does get you bogged down in learning facts, but bigger picture, there are lessons to be learned from everything.
Yeah, I mean, even with like English and humanities, just if you don't apply it, the creative thinking, the way in which you have to apply things creatively is going to massively impact you. Love it, Tom. I love this conversation. I think it's been definitely great. And I think really, what would you say like the three main takeaways are from what we've just been talking about?
Funny you should ask, because I had three to hand. So, and again, this is sort of my revision techniques coming in. I always like to bullet point things, keep things as concise as possible, but just hit those points hard, the points that really matter. So, the main takeaways, I would say, start your process of revising approximately 2 months before the exam. Okay. Right. Now you can stagger it. If your exam period is a month long, start your first exam revision first, and then, a month down the line, start whatever is a month later in the exam window. So just give every subject its sort of 2-month window. Okay. Point 2, aim to go through course material up to 5 times. Now, go through might mean highlighting, might mean rewriting it in your own words, might mean copying verbatim, but I want you to go through material 5 times, but each time only actually writing down progressively less. I want you to become more efficient and only focus on the things that you are not there with yet, okay? And last but not least, at the end of each time that you go through something, do a past paper. I'm telling you, any gaps in your knowledge from your revision techniques will be highlighted with past papers, okay? And when I say go through, I would give it a crack. It'll be pretty depressing the first time you go through one, right? Because you won't do very well. But then you look at the marking scheme, you learn from it. The next time you go through, you might do better. Try and do a different past paper each time, because otherwise you'll just be learning to pass that one paper. But honestly, past papers are absolutely valuable. So they're probably my 3 key points.
Great, nice one. I think from this, parents as well who are watching, continue to encourage your child to keep going. Continue to just say, I know it's tough, but keep going. It will pay out in the end. As much as you can come into partnership with them, reward a sense of any elements of discipline. Reward that. If they're able to study for a week, at the end of the week, take them out to McDonald's or maybe that's too small a thing, but something that actually means something to them, because that's going to make the work a lot better. As you can see with Tom, he was putting in a decent number of hours to get the grade that he was looking for. So encourage your child to just up the number of hours that they're doing. Obviously, it might not be easy at first if they're not used to doing that. But anything more than yesterday is a success.
Absolutely.
So as much as you can encourage your children, I think that will go such a long way for them.
And I realised today, I haven't actually clarified the time per day. I don't want it to seem like you need to do like an insurmountable amount of work a day. I would say on a poorer day, 3 to 4 hours of revision. On a better day, 7 to 8. It's never exceeding an average working day of like a 9 to 5 job, right? So I found that I always sort of had to stop before dinner. I didn't want anything on my brain after dinner. That worked for me. If you're a night owl, you might want to flip that. You might want to lie in, start later. But I don't want you to get mistaken that me today saying you've got to work as hard all throughout the day, all day, every day. I just sort of just think of it as a working day, right? Keep those hours consistent. You got this, definitely.
Nice one. Great. Thank you so much, Tom. Massive appreciation for you being here. And for all of you guys who are listening, we constantly want to give you added value. So make sure that you lock into next week's talk as well. But thank you guys so much, and hopefully I'll see you soon.